In this picture taken over half a decade ago, you can see Real Madrid at the peak of their dynasty, with various players in their prime like James Rodriguez, Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Toni Kroos, each receiving all their various awards and accolades. But if you look at the back, you'll see no other than a humble and supportive Karim Benzema, cheering on like a true teammate, patiently waiting or maybe even dreaming for the chance that he might one day be standing in the very same position. Fast forward 8 seasons later to only a few days ago, it was Karim Benzema that after all this time had finally been given his opportunity to shine and win the prestigious Ballon d'Or, which by the way was the second highest margin of victory of all time for the Ballon d'Or. No other player has won the award with a bigger voting margin than Benzema since Cristiano Ronaldo in 2016. But if you look at Benzema just a few years ago, you might have never really expected this. And because football is a sport in which recency bias affects its fandom more than any other, I might just have to remind you all exactly how Benzema won this award and why I think it's probably the most deserved Ballon d'Or of all time.
I would say Benzema. My boy Benzi.
Karim Benzema, for a majority of his Madrid career, was always a solid player. This is his 14th season with the club, already making him one of the longest lasting players the club has ever had. But throughout the majority of his career, he was never really a big name superstar, or had any insanely mind-blowing stats that many of the top forwards of this generation have had. But don't get me wrong, Benzema was still an incredibly elite player. But before his breakthrough 2021-22 season, Benzema averaged around 291 goals in 559 matches, an average of about 0.52 goals per game. Still amazing, but compared to even forwards like Robert Lewandowski, he never really scored more than 32 goals in a single season. Benzema would only be named La Liga Player of the Month a total of 5 times in his career, with only 20, dating all the way back to 2014. In fact, Benzema had never even made it to a La Liga Team of the Season until Cristiano Ronaldo had left Real Madrid. And before any Benzema fans feel like I'm trying to discredit him, just wait, because trust me, I'm not. While Benzema was always a solid and very elite forward, the one thing that made him special was his selflessness. In the years that I supported Real Madrid as a Ronaldo fan, Benzema was always a great passer, giving his teammates an insane amount of assists, even leading the Champions League in assists throughout the 2011-2012 season, with a total of 160 with Real Madrid alone as a striker. My point is, and I'm sure many Madrid fans would agree, that Benzema never really tried much to be the man of the squad that had to score all the goals and put the team on his back, and that's simply because he never really had to. Throughout all the years he spent with Madrid, Benzema was always a regular. Despite all the squad rotations, all the new signings, and all the different goal scorers they brought along the way, he was always a solid option you could trust and believe in, but never really had to solely rely on. And I've seen many people for the past few years now say that Benzema was simply overshadowed or held back by Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, of course. I mean, naturally, if you played up front with the highest goal scorer of all time, of course you'd have no choice but to share the limelight as well. But this brings me to another point. Benzema has never been an egotistic or selfish player. I've never had the perception of Benzema being the type of personality that demanded to be in the spotlight or wanted to be the star of the squad. I mean, in all those years with Real Madrid, Benzema has not once demanded a transfer to make a name for himself or look for a squad where he could be the #1 option. But do you guys remember in the 2018-2019 season when it seemed like Real Madrid were falling off? The three-peat European champions finished 3rd in La Liga, got knocked out of the Champions League in the round of 16, and failed to win the Spanish Cup and Spanish Super Cup. Ronaldo and Zidane had just left the club, the Gareth Bale situation was slowly starting to unfold, their Ballon d'Or winner Luka Modric was out of form, and it looked like Real Madrid were going to be out of the spotlight. But one player had always remained solid, and that was Karim Benzema. Every single season since then, Benzema has been their top scorer and winning crucial games for them year after year. And I didn't forget about Modric, as he came back into form and would play incredible as well. But the truth is, You aren't winning games without goals. It's as simple as that. And when the club had nobody else to turn to, when Eden Hazard, their most anticipated signing in years, would be sidelined for a majority of his time with the club, it was Benzema that put the squad on his back, turning what was then a failing Real Madrid into La Liga champions and Spanish Super Cup winners the very next season. But it was no other than the 2021-2022 season that we witnessed a 34-year-old Karim Benzema, like fine wine, put on the greatest season of his career and bring in one of the most challenging and impressive performances we've ever seen. And although it was the second largest margin of victory for any Ballon d'Or winner, I honestly think that Benzema's Ballon d'Or, more than any other season, should have been the largest margin of victory that we've ever seen. I don't think that any other year had had such a one-sided clear victor, the same way that Benzema has in 2022. Yeah, you heard that right. Compared to the other finalists, I don't know how they would even get a vote compared to Benzema this year. And let me remind you exactly why. First of all, in the Nations League, Benzema was able to help France win their first ever title in the tournament with clutch goals in both the semi-final against Belgium and the final itself against Spain. And in case you forgot, this was a huge story because Benzema has not played with the French national team since all the way back in 2015 around the blackmailing allegations towards him. And for him to come back and help his country win the Nations League with clutch performances in the late stages nonetheless is an incredible headline all by itself. In the Spanish Super Cup, it was Benzema who scored against Barca in the semi-final and scored in the final against Atletico Bilbao to secure the trophy. Benzema would also have the best season of his career by far, with a total of 44 goals and 15 assists in 46 appearances. That's an insane 1.28 goal contributions per game. Benzema would outdo his previous best in the 2011-2012 season by scoring a dozen times more. And at the age of 34, to see a forward have his best ever season is insane. He finished as La Liga's top goal scorer, winning his first ever Pichichi Award. But it's not just the amount of goals he scored, it's how he scored them. He would help Real Madrid win the La Liga title once more, especially in the middle of the season when COVID took out a majority of Madrid starters, like Casemiro, Carvajal, Modric, Bale, and Isco. It was Benzema who was winning games all by himself to put Madrid in a comfortable lead to eventually win the season title. Real Madrid would also have one of the most difficult journeys to the Champions League trophy I've ever seen. They would face one of the heavy favorites, PSG, with their Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar trio in the round of 16, losing 1-0 in the first leg by a goal from Mbappe. In the second leg, Mbappe would score again in the 39th minute, making Real Madrid's exit look all the more unavoidable. That was until Benzema would score an insane hat-trick, which included his final 2 goals just minutes apart to lead his club to victory in a surprise win that would shock the world. Next, they would face defending champions Chelsea in the quarterfinal, and Benzema would score yet another hat-trick in the first leg and score the game-winning goal yet again in the 96th minute of the second leg that helped them narrowly escape with a 5-4 win on aggregate. Now they had to face against another heavy favorite, Man City, in the semi-final, losing 4-3 in the first leg with Benzema scoring 2 goals, but miraculously winning after Rodrigo scores 2 goals in the 90th and 91st minute to bring the match into a tie, before Benzema seals yet another game-winning goal with a penalty in the 95th minute. One of the most insane late-winning sequences I've ever witnessed in football, and I've never seen back-to-back-to-back Champions League matches that were so close. It was unreal. And of course, although Madrid were underdogs against Liverpool in the final, thanks to Courtois' amazing goalkeeping and Vinny Jr.'s 59th minute goal, Benzema and Madrid would secure 3 out of 4 possible trophies for the season with a minor treble. Who cares if he didn't score in the final, because we all know they wouldn't have been there without him. And although Benzema hasn't been going as insane this 2022-23 season so far, he still has 6 goals and 1 assist in 11 matches. And rightfully so, Benzema has won the Ballon d'Or, and in his words, he has finally completed his lifelong dreams. To buy a house for my mother, to play for Real Madrid, and to win the Ballon d'Or, that's all I've ever dreamed of.